Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti 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 Samasta Jana Kalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Hari Om. We discussed about the various kinds of sacrifices as prescribed in chapter 4 of Bhagavad-Gita. The very definition of sacrifice is always misunderstood as killing or destroying. It is not. Sacrifice is giving up something lower to achieve something higher. Like when you are preparing for some exam or tests or project, you give up your preoccupations, watching TV or going out for a party and doing other things, and exclusively spend time in preparing for the upcoming project or classroom presentation, whatever. So what you are doing is sacrificing your little comforts of life or preoccupations of the mind, habitual things, for moving forward, stepping up. In the same way, when we take spiritual goal seriously, which is liberation or freedom from our own misunderstandings, we have to give up something, and that is inevitable. Puja Gurudev would say the entire teaching of Hinduism is detach and attach. He would give an example that if you are standing on a floor and you want to jump above the floor and remain detached from the floor for a longer period of time, it is not possible to do so unless you hang on to something higher, and from holding on to that you can detach from the floor on which you're standing. If you just jump for a few seconds, you may be away from the floor, but again you will come back. But if you have something to hold on to, something which is hanging from the top, let's say a branch of a tree or a bar, then you are away from the floor for a longer time. In the same way, it is natural attraction, like a gravity which attracts you to the center of the earth, and that's why we are able to walk on the floor. To detach from the floor, we need something to hold on. In the same way, the natural tendency of all of us are to become slave to the senses and the mind. Our immediate demands of the body, more than the need, it is a greed, it is the passion, it is the attachment, it is the emotional need that brings us again back to the worldly level and become more slave to the material comforts and conveniences. Becoming free means using it by choice, not out of compulsion. When I have a cell phone or an iPad or a computer, TV, etc., they are all Equipments or entertainment tools which I have, and I use it based upon my discretion. It should not become a demand. So when I start choosing whether to use it or not, I am already stepping forward towards freedom. When I don't make any choice and compulsively when I start using, then I am losing my freedom. This is the basic premise. Freedom, therefore, is a choice that you make. And when you make a choice to be free, you have to naturally sacrifice something which does not allow you that freedom. That is the reason why the next topic, as we would see here, is about practice of sacrifice. Sri Krishna in his Bhagavad-Gita gives 12 different practices. To start with, he says, worship of God. Worship of God is considered as a routine that one has to take it up in one's life. For whatever we have received in our life, whatever we are enjoying naturally, like sunlight, water, air, the earth and its fertility, nourishment, and all that we have been receiving to sustain ourselves in this world is a gift from God. Animals, when they live instinctively, not intelligently, do not have the maturity of the mind to show gratitude. In fact, they are very careful about using the resources while human beings are exploiting it. Because other living beings do not have the greed to own, possess, aggrandize, and prove to others that it is great. No, it is not there. It just fulfills its instinctive demands and goes about living. But human beings as we are not only just sustaining ourselves, but we want to prove to others that we are great. We are over-utilizing our resources. In fact, we are misusing the gift that is given by the Lord. So worship of God, really speaking, is a show of gratitude, and that requires you to spend some time, some amount of time, energy every day, and that is a sacrifice. Second, sacrifice for Brahman. Here, while a person may have a familiar or favorite deity called Krishna or Shiva or Vishnu or Devi or Ganesh, one can have that. But at the same time, one can also raise the attention to not just a familiar deity, but the absolute self, absolute reality, which is referred as Brahman. The absolute reality which governs everything, all living beings, all things that are there, animate, inanimate matter, and life, everything, which is not in any particular form. So sacrifice for the sake of Brahman. Considering that all that I am doing, breathing, walking, talking, everything is happening because of the abstract presence of life within all of us. Just as I have told you before, if you take a plant and cut it open and see, you will not see life at all, though it is alive. So the life is imperceptible, invisible, abstract, but at present. And that sacrifice for the Brahman is to constantly remember that I am given this blessings called life, blessing called life all the time. And this is a sacrifice. Senses. Moderation of the senses is highly recommended in Vedanta, because that is the one thing which actually make ourselves so busy in the world. I want to see this, I want to hear this, I want to taste that, I want to go there, I want to experience that, this. The demand of the senses are so high, and as we move on in our life, we cannot even control them. Certain things become so strong habits, we are not able to moderate at all. And we can't even think ourselves depriving ourselves certain things, even though some of them are dangerous, like smoking and drinking. Dangerous they are, but then if you do not moderate, if you do not give up certain things, we will not be able to proceed further. So that giving up certain habitual ways of using our senses, that is also a sacrifice. Mind control. Behind the senses, what is actually doing everything is our mind, our thoughts. Without thinking, I won't see and register what I see. Without thinking, I cannot hear and register what I hear. Without thinking, if I taste, I don't register what I taste. So, mind is behind all the senses. So, if one is not able to or incapable of moderating the senses, then one should go to find out what kind of a thought that I have, which is prompting me to experience this world. If I can change my thought, I can naturally change the direction of the senses. So mind control, self-withdrawal. Once in a while, we have to take ourselves to solitude to see whether we are capable of living without the usual comforts and conveniences of life. This sacrifice is very important to assure ourselves that I am not dictated by the world outside. I am the master to myself. I am capable of. See, it is like when you when you get into your flight, sit down, and when the flight takes off, how much of power it is required for it to take off from the ground to glide into the sky. So much of power is necessary, so much of push is necessary. And finally, as that flight takes off to a certain height, and let's say 25, 30,000 reaches there, then it's all quiet. It's all just gliding. It is without any kind of a pull. It just glides into the sky until it decides to come down again and reach the place where it has to reach. So that state of withdrawal is where initially there will be a lot of struggle, just like the power required for the flight to take off. But once you reach a state of inner withdrawal, it is so smooth, peaceful, comfortable, quiet, still. But that needs practice, and that is also another sacrifice. While living in this world, we are not living in individual islands, though it looks like we are all living in our own private worlds, but we do have other members of the society who may probably require our help, and that we should be sharing with others, because the resources are the same for everybody. I have the money to pay and enjoy the resources. Somebody may not have that ability to procure what he or she wants. So out of compassion, out of feeling of brotherhood, out of humanitarian concern, one should share one's wealth, and that is also considered as a sacrifice. Austerity. The ability to say no to things. It is not always you should say yes for everything. The ability to say no gives you a lot of strength. Ability to deny gives you the ability to take up whenever you want. If I always say yes to everything, then I will have no strength to say no. For example, let us say, at some point of time in your day, everyday life, don't you say no to the world and go to sleep? That sleep gives you so much of energy and restfulness because you decided to say no to the demanding world, and you have withdrawn yourself to take rest. In the same way, our mind and senses also need rest, for which you have to say no. And that no is not really a denial. It is the it is to prove yourself everything is under my control. If I am not able to control everything in my mind and senses and what the world demands, then I will never be able to find my own rest. So austerity is, in the world of business also what we see, there are two ways of increasing your wealth. One, by producing more profit, or conserve your expenses, cut down your expenses. Cutting down your expenses also a way of income only. In fact, that is under your control. Profit that you make on a product is not under your control because you do not know how many people buy your product. But if you cut down your cost, that itself is an income. In the same way, mind has a certain amount of energy, and if you are spending it in worrying and unnecessarily brooding over depression and unnecessarily engaging in this world and chatting and talking about somebody and then gossiping, etc., there's so much of energy is spent. Instead of that, conserve your energy. Reduce your preoccupations of the mind. Reduce unwanted talks. Reduce unwanted engagement in the world. So that kind of austerity is what I call it as saying no. That also is a sacrifice. Yoga. Practicing yoga is very important for a spiritually advanced person or seeking spiritual knowledge, because flexibility of the body is highly important to sit quietly. If my body is under tension all the time, physically I am so tensed or tight, it is impossible for me to even have a good sleep. Yoga, on the other hand, gives flexibility to the body as well as to the mind. So that practice is also important as a part of the sacrifice. Study. Giving my mind new thoughts, new ideas, new ways of looking at it is study. Study is not just reading a book. It is more of dwelling upon what you have read, thinking about what you have read. So it is otherwise known as contemplation, where an individual takes a book, a new idea that has come in, or he has attended a satsang, a new thought has been given to the mind. Sit quietly and look at, how do I use this? How do I make sure that it is part of my life, part of my experience? So recalling what is heard, recalling what is read, and going deeper into that is what is called study. Only by study one we understand that one's own misunderstandings are to be given up. So study also is a sacrifice in the form of able to let go what is misunderstood by one. So that is another sacrifice. Wisdom. To know about a thing, you may read, you may study a book about it. But then the best form of learning is to go to a person who has practiced it. Such an individual, man or woman, will be able to tell you, hey, I have used it, I have practiced it, and I know this works, this doesn't work. That's why we have consultants in management field also. You go there and ask them, hey, I have this problem, what do I do? The person who is an expert would say, this I have also come across in many places, and I have experimented many things, and I know this works and this doesn't work. So wisdom is always caught, not taught. You have to go to a person of wisdom and you can catch the wisdom of that person when he imparts it to you. So that is where one comes to recognize that I need not go through all the experiences of life to know what is right and what is wrong. I can get the same thing from a person who has already done it. 11. Breath control. Understand one thing, the very word prani in Sanskrit means that which breathes. Breathing is a link between matter and life. If you look at a tree, it is also alive. If you look at a bird that is flying, that is also alive. If you look at the animal running, a rat running, or a small worm crawling in the ground, that is also alive. All of them have one thing in common. All of them breathe. So the breath that we take in and out, inhalation and exhalation, this is a sustainer of life. It is like you take a lamp and light it and put it in a room where there is no air at all. It will not be alive. Within no time it will extinguish. Why? In a place of vacuum where there is no air, even fire cannot exist. If you consider life like a fire, that requires air. Similarly, prana in our own body is what we breathe in and breathe out. That is one aspect of it. And there are many other functionalities of that breathing that takes place in our body, like circulation of blood and digestion and many other things that are done because of prana. So control of prana is control of all those activities and making it efficient. And that efficiency of the entire body will take place by regulating the way we breathe and we breathe out. That is called pranayama. So that is also considered as a sacrifice. Last but not the least is fasting. Fasting is considered as a very important sacrifice because our body requires, to some extent, it requires some rest. Every day, 3 to 4 times when we eat, and the body continuously 24 hours it is functioning. Even when you are sleeping, the body continues to digest. Blood circulation is taking place. Energy is being distributed. All activities are going on. So fasting is considered by many religions, including Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, Judaism. Every one of them have considered fasting as an important means to show our gratitude to the one who gave us this physical body. Just like if a person is working 6 days a week, 7th day is supposed to take rest because everything has to be put down and no more doing what he has been doing on the 6 days. Why? Because everything requires some amount of rest. In the same way, the physical body needs to be given some amount of rest, and that fasting helps us to overcome the fatigue, overcome the daily routine which may probably tire the body. So fasting is one of the means of keeping our body, the vehicle in our journey, very healthy. So in other words, I have put it this way: worship of God is devotion, sacrifice for Brahman is dedication, moderation of the senses is discipline, mind control is detachment, self-withdrawal is dispassion, sharing wealth is donation, austerity is determination, yoga is dexterity, study is discrimination, wisdom is decisiveness, breathing is deep breathing, control is pranayam, and fasting is dieting. All these devotion, dedication, discipline, detachment, dispassion, donation, determination, dexterity, discrimination, decisive, deep breathing, and dieting. So if you can take this 12D as our practice, we are on our way sure to become better individual. So Sri Krishna gives 12 different methods of overcoming our negativities within us. This is considered as a methodology of growing up, maturing. All right. So not all of them are possible for us to practice at once, but at least take up one at a time. Make sure that you have understood and practice it well. Then go on improving each one of them, and you'll find that you have a control over yourself. You become a master of your own life and a daily life. So Sri Krishna continues to say that these 12 different kinds of sacrifices that are being given are on one hand, best form of or direct path to freedom is directly listening from a teacher. That's why in our Hindu tradition, the worship of the teacher or going to the teacher and learning is kept as the highest form or the most direct form to gain the moksha or freedom is to gain the correct direction from the spiritual teacher. So the best sacrifice is burning ignorance in the fire of knowledge. It is due to ignorance we are caught in the whirlpool of actions. So Krishna says that you should approach a man of wisdom, and nowadays it is not that easy to find such a exalted soul, because most of them are, part of the world and they're doing everything commercially. It is very rare to find someone who can teach us directly without any kind of compromise, without expecting anything in return, and doing it so honestly and sincerely, what the teaching that would take us to the state of freedom. So here we find the approach has to be, as Krishna would say, the fourfold methodology. Number one, first approach a guru. Many people have problem there itself. Swamiji, I do not know who is a guru. The very meaning of guru is Gukaraha antakarastu rukarastan nivartakaha antakara nivartakatvat guruhu ityabhidiyate. See, gu is the very word guru means guru. Two letters are there. Gu stands for darkness. Ru stands for that which removes the darkness. That like light. So if there is a dark room, nothing else can remove the darkness unless you bring a light. Meaning, when you bring a light into the dark room, the darkness disappears. It is not that darkness goes to some other room. You see? Because darkness does not have its own existence. It is only absence of light. So when you bring the light, the darkness becomes absent. If darkness has got its own presence, then it has to move somewhere else. Like, okay, let me ask you one thing. If there is a light in a particular room, how do you bring darkness into that room? Can you bring darkness into a room which is already lit? You cannot. Because darkness, it has no reality of its own, while light has a reality of its own. So you cannot bring darkness to a room which is already lit, but you can definitely bring light to a room which is dark. In the same way, a guru is one who, when you approach, he brings you light, and thereafter ignorance cannot stay in you. It is impossible. Because when light of knowledge is already lit in your heart, ignorance cannot find its entry at all. In other words, it's a one-way street. So going to a guru is an one-way street. It cannot be otherwise. You cannot but learn. Acharyavan Purusho Veda, it is said. A person of knowledge will always come to, a person who approaches a man of knowledge will definitely learn. It is not a bookish knowledge that the guru is expounding. He speaks out of his own understanding of what is true, his own experimentation of what is true, and therefore there is surely determination on the decisiveness in his words. And there is a confirmation in his knowledge. All right. Now continuing, after you approach a guru who would be in sync with your way of thinking, or you are able to sync with his thinking, because not all of us are capable of finding the same guru applicable to us, because the way we think, what appeals to us, you will find, if you find in your guru, then such a person you will be able to learn better, from whom you can learn better. If let us say you are a person who want to be very analytical in your approach, you are very logical in your thinking, and you find a teacher who is great in his own way, but he is full of emotion, full of devotion, full of bhakti, and he always talks about surrendering to the Lord and singing the name of the Lord. Somehow you cannot sync with that person. Even though he may be great, others may worship him and learn from him, but for you, such a person is not. On the other hand, somebody is, let us say, who has great love for the Lord and he wants to know more about it, and he goes to a teacher who talks very logical, very analytical, talking about discrimination and how to rise above likes and dislikes by thinking, etc. I will say, no, I'm not an intellectual. It doesn't sync with me. I think I have to go to somebody else. So, not a standard guru for everybody. It is not possible. It is definitely personal. One has to find the wavelength closer to the person who can teach him. And such is the need of one to seek the right person to teach. And therefore, approaching a guru is the first step one has to take. Second is, once you have reached the abode of the teacher, once you have come in contact with the right person who can teach you, surrender. as it has happened in Bhagavad-Gita itself. Arjuna, having understood he is into a problem, he is unable to think what is right at this situation, he immediately tells Krishna, I surrender to you, you teach me. Aham prapannaha, I have surrendered. Shadimam, please teach me. Shishyaha te aham, I am your disciple. So this surrendering is not falling at the feet, even though symbolically that's what it means. It is, I am ready to quietly listen to your instruction. Not that I will blindly follow what you say, but I would like to listen to what you have got to say for me. This surrender is more of accepting the instructions given by the teacher, thinking it independently, and coming out with one's own method of following that. And if there is any doubt, asking questions by doing seva and asking questions. See, Krishna is very practical about this. The surrender is to be expressed in the form of doing seva. That is what is required for the teacher. Do it so that teacher will have more time to teach. Otherwise, he will be busy on mundane things. So he will not find time for teaching you. So help him out in his daily chores or whatever he needs to accomplish, but which you can help. Do that so that the teacher finds more time, and in that time you take his lessons and think about it yourself, come up with your own way of doing it, and whenever there is a doubt, you should ask questions so that you can get clarity and then proceed forward. So tadvidya pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninaha tattvadarshinaha. Those who have seen the highest truth will be able to guide you effectively. So the result of knowledge gained from a teacher is no more confusion about the goal of life and seeing one's own self in all beings. The total compassion for all. The result of knowledge is very profound, that you will no more see yourself alienated at any time. Meaning, whoever you be in touch with, whomever you in contact with the world, whether it's a known or unknown person, whether belong to the same community or caste or color or religion or state or nation, you will be able to at once connect with the other person, because you will see the oneness in all. Just like if, let us say, that if you are a Tamilian and you are going to some other country and then nobody knows you and you are roaming around watching, maybe you are looking at things in that country, and then I sit in one corner and watching and taking photograph, taking notes, and just watching the people moving about, and suddenly you see another person coming next to you and sitting there and reading a Tamil magazine. You will be very excited. Hey, are you from Tamil Nadu? Yeah. Ama, ninga enga irudhu? In Tamil. Oh, where are you from? Oh, then suddenly you find a friend in a strange land. You know, how joyful you would be to converse with him, to know more about that person, where he is from, which part of Tamil Nadu he has come from, and what school he went, and what kind of practices that he has at home, what kind of food, where is his home. Why? Because there is something common chord you struck. Is it not? In the same way, a man of correct knowledge is one who is able to strike a definite chord with everybody in this world, not only human, all living beings, because he will come to connect with the self of all, the one which is residing in all of us as our own being, the innermost presence. When that is recognized, when that is realized, when that you connect with, suddenly you will find that you are in business. You are able to connect with. See, it is like this: when you are traveling and your battery is low in your phone and you are looking for a plug point, and here and there you go, and suddenly you find one seat is empty there. Next to that there is a plug point. You suddenly get excited. You rush to that point, sit down. First thing, you take out your card and take the connection and then put it into the power plug. I am in business. Now I can browse. Now I can talk. Why? Because you found the source from which you can empower yourself. In the same way, a person of realization finds his connection with everybody in this world at once, because he overlooks caste, color, creed, sex, status, religion, region, everything. He suddenly finds a card with every living being in this world, and so he is so comfortable anywhere he goes. Yogarato va, bhogarato va, sangarato va, sangavihina yasya brahmani ramate chittam nandadi nandadi nandatyeva. This is how Shankaracharya says, such a person, wherever he is with the people or without the people, practicing something or all by alone, he finds himself connected to the entire creation, for he has found a common thread in all of them. So, even if you are the highest sinner, he says, Krishna says, you will cross over all wickedness with the raft of knowledge. Prajinam santarishyasi. Even if you are the greatest sinner, you will cross over the problems of daily life when you are connected to the highest source. Your direct connection with the highest self will make you cross over all problems, all domestic, social, economic, political, personal, impersonal, all issues. Because of lack of right thinking, you will be able to overcome. That peaceful self that you are is to be realized, and that knowledge of the highest self is like a fire. So as he says, knowledge acts like a fire, burning away all actions of the past, invigorates the present, and purifies the future. See, if you have ever seen in the ancient lands, or if you go to a village side in India, or even here in some rural side when you go, for everything they use wood as the fuel. A dry wood is a fuel. Why? Because the dry wood has got potentially fire within itself. The fire that is already hidden in the wood is what is called the fuel. So when a small spark of fire is lit and connected to that wood there, it starts picking up momentum. The fire starts burning. So the fire that started the whole thing is maybe a small spark. But what sustains the entire burning of that wood is a fire that is already hidden inside the wood. In the same way, the knowledge that is going to be provided by the teacher is maybe a small indicator, small direction, small arrow that he is shooting there. Come on, look in this direction, think in this way, come to recognize this. So the teachings from the teacher is only a direction which is given to the student. But the moment the direction is understood, the self within oneself starts manifesting so powerfully. And that recognition of one's own self, which is the highest blissful one, burns away all things, all actions of the past. So this is important at this point for you to understand. Three kinds of actions done by us, which dictates our experiences in the world of whatever we live in. First one is, it is believed in the Hinduism that we are product of many actions of the past. In many lives, over many lives, we have accumulated so many things, so many actions we have done in the past, and collectively the result of all those actions is known as Sanchita, collected. This Sanchita or collected actions, a part of it is come to manifest in present experience now. The result of past actions experienced now is called Prarabdha or called Prarabdha, destiny. It is like you look at a bow and an arrow. A person who is holding a bow, and from his bow, from his quiver, which is he has it in his back, he picks up only one arrow, right? And takes it and then connects it with the bow, and with a lot of strength he pulls the arrow with the string, aiming the bow towards the direction in which the arrow has to go. And after having stretched for a long time, and slowly he releases the string along with the arrow. And the arrow, because of the pull of the string, gets the momentum and starts going towards the target to which it is directed. So the prarabdha, the present experience that we all have, is the momentum created by the past actions, selected past actions. And until the arrow reaches the target, it doesn't stop. It goes with a great speed. So also in our life, the force of the past actions is what is experienced by us as present day experiences. Our Gurudev used to say, if you are unhappy today, it need not necessarily because of unhappy action you did yesterday or day before or even in this life. Sometimes our unhappy present experience may be caused by some unnecessary actions or sinful action that we have done many lives back. That is why we are not able to recognize why certain people go through intense sad experiences, even though they are good people, or even though some of them are bad by nature, but they come to have all sort of conveniences, comforts in today's life. And you will wonder, you will be baffled to know, how is that a person who is so bad is having all conveniences, all things, but another person who is so good is going through so many bad experiences? Why? The only answer is the present experiences are not necessarily product of immediate past actions. So we should recognize that no effect can be without a cause. It is scientifically not tenable, not acceptable. If there is something happening, there must be something has happened before. If I say, look at the outside and it's all cloudy weather today, it cannot be because of what happened yesterday. It is because of so much of happening somewhere, maybe hundreds and thousands of miles away, some kind of a depression is taking place. The effect of that is now seen in the form of clouds here in front of me. So I recognize this effect of cloudiness in the sky is because of something happening somewhere or something that happened somewhere. No effect can be without a cause. Therefore, if I am going through certain bad experiences, or I am going through some pleasant experiences as well, there should be some actions of the past deciding this. So this logical conclusion is what is led to the theory of karma. So therefore, prarabdha is what I go through right now because of my past actions. In the same way, possible actions in the present life that I am going to do, that determines what I will be experiencing later. They are called actions to be done by me in this world. It's called agami. Now, why I am giving you this idea is, Sanchita is collected various actions of the past. A portion of that is now being experienced by me today. And there are some more actions which are yet to be performed by me in this life. These are the three broad divisions of actions. What Krishna says is, moment you gain the knowledge of the higher self, Sanchita and Agami, meaning actions of the past and actions that you will be doing in this life, both of them will lose their effectiveness. Because what makes an individual experience the result of past actions is the idea that I did it. The moment you have the idea, I did the past actions, the result of that will come to you only. So also, when you are doing actions in the future with idea that I am the doer, then the result of that will come to you. So the only solution by which you can overcome the result of past actions as well as avoid the future results is to recognize that you are not the doer. This is an important subject matter which next chapter he elaborates on. So one will ask, you said how that knowledge will help in that? Yes, knowledge will come to make you realize that you are not the doer of the past, and not also you are the doer of the future action. But as far as the present experiences are concerned, it is already taken a momentum, and therefore you experience it right now as it is presented to you without any complaint. So that is where the knowledge comes and helps you. So, but who gains this knowledge? See, what I have told you right now, you need not believe in what I say or what the scriptures say. But if you want to understand and practice this, what you need first of all is you need faith. Because if somebody says this is how the theory is, and you say I don't believe it, and see, by you not believing, the theory is not going to work. For example, if I say I never believe in Newton, never he existed, I don't think he ever existed in this world, it's all a hearsay matter, and then I jump from the 13th floor, the law of gravity work or not? Even if I don't believe in Newton, it will work. Why? Because the law of gravity does not depend upon Newton. Law of gravity is not created by Newton either. Newton only explained what is already there. He only made it intelligible to us so that we can understand what it is already there. In the same way, theory of karma is not somebody's creation. Theory of some karma is somebody's observation. Somebody has observed it clearly. Oh, this is how it works. Oh, this is how I can overcome this. This is the way to work around it so that I will not become a victim of the karma of what I have done. So, it is not that you not believing in me, it doesn't work. Not that you believe in me, only it will work. No. A man of faith comes to know correctly. Oh, this is how it is. Then it is up to you to practice it. So therefore, diligence is necessary in practicing what you have heard with faith. And what is important is self-discipline. Well, now I know, okay, that so long as I have the idea that I am the doer, past actions will affect me. So long as I perform my actions with an idea that I am the doer, the future actions will affect me. So the best way to go about it is that whatever I have done in the past, let go of it. I was not the doer even in the past. Whatever I am going to do in the future, also, I will not insist that I am the doer. In which case, what I am going to experience is only what is already started, called prarabdha. And that also I will experience it, or I will go through it with my mind at peace. Okay, what I have done in the past has now come to be the experience today. I will accept it. I will not react to it, because the reaction means I become a doer again. So therefore, the result of that is peace. The opposite of that, what if one does not have faith? What one who does not feel that what is said, what is given to us is true. It is just a hearsay which has no reality into it. The moment you stop believing in what is given to you as knowledge, then man of doubt is self-destructive. Samshayatma vinashyati. Samshayatma means a person of doubt, he perishes or she perishes. Why? Because one who doubts it's not that he is going to escape from the experience. And when a person of doubt, he will always doubt everything. And a person of doubt cannot have any joy at all, really speaking, because anything that is presented to him, he is doubtful. It's like a king was so afraid of everybody that anybody would kill him. So any food that is given to him, he will first give it to a cat in his palace. and see whether that cat is surviving or not, and then only he will eat. If the cat survives, he will eat. If the cat dies, that fellow has put a poison in this wood. If that kind of a life if he has to lead, every moment will be a problem. Nobody he will trust, and such an individual will perish. He will have no joy in this world or in this life, nor there is any joy after death or after life. So, therefore, Krishna says, result of such an individual who has no faith is continuous sorrow. Samshayatma vinashyati nasukam samshayatmanaha. No joy for such an individual. So, O Arjun, destroy doubts through knowledge and be clear about the goal. Stay steady in your understanding. So, Arjuna is instructed by the Lord, stay in continuous, discipline of learning through your own submission to the teacher who is ready to teach you clearly, and take it upon yourself to ensure that you practice it and come to see the depth of the experience through your own practices. So this is what the explanation given by Bhagavan Krishna. And now we enter into chapter 5. In chapter 5, the question is raised by Arjuna. That is, you have been telling us knowledge is great, but at the same time you are also saying action is also great. Both of them you are saying as important to us. Action in the form of sacrifice, knowledge in the form of learning. You say that you have to go to your teacher and learn it right, etc. Yes, that is a path of knowledge. But at the same time, you are also saying that you must engage in your duty properly, etc. I am confused. What is that? What is the confusion? To do or not to do? To engage in action or not to engage in action? If I am engaging in action, the result will be there. If I am not engaging in action, then that is what you call it as sannyasa. Is that better than this? Not to engage, my desire is not destroyed. When I engage, the result will come. So what should I do? So Krishna very clearly says, to do is better than not to do. To engage in action is better than not engaging in action. As far as you are concerned, Arjuna, you have to engage in action. Why? I don't understand. How to pursue knowledge while being busy with work? Many people ask this question. Swamiji, you are teaching certain things which requires for me to sit down quietly, think about it, but I have work to do. I have my daily chores of things to do. So how am I going to practice both to gain knowledge and at the same time get going with my work? So to an answer to that, knowledge can happen only if your mind is free of likes and dislikes. You will be free of all bondages. So free of likes and dislikes cannot happen unless you find out where your likes and dislikes are. Unless you recognize what is that which is making you go towards the world, what are the things that are attracting you, and what are the things that you are so distasteful, angry, upset, unhappy about. Unless you discover the areas of likes and dislikes, you will not be able to overcome that. And to recognize the areas of likes and dislikes, you have to engage in action. So only when you engage in action and come to recognize these likes and dislikes, you will be able to overcome them. And knowledge will help you to overcome them. Now, action will help you to discover them. So therefore, path of knowledge and actions are not two different paths? They are not two diverse ways of going? He said, no, not at all. They complement each other, not contradict. So they both take you to the same goal. Stay firm in one, you will see the result of other as well. So then why do you insist to do is better than not to do? If both of them can give me the same result, then it is better to not to engage in this world than to engage. He says, to do gives you the opportunity to overcome your ego, self-conceit, strong prejudices, and many other negativities. Because many times we have dirt at home and externally we cover it up. It's like, your garage full of things that we stuff it, unwanted things, and close the garage and paint it nicely. Will it solve the problem? When you open the garage, you will see all, or even in a cupboard full of unwanted things. You just close it and then lock it. Does not mean it is clean. In the same way, mind full of dirt in the form of passion, lust, greed, jealousy, anger, frustration, depression, dejection, disappointments, everything is there, and you just sit down, closing your eyes, and say, I am peaceful, I am happy. By merely brainwashing yourself that you are happy, you are peaceful, etc., that does not solve the problem of anger and lust and passion and greed. Because the moment you wake up and then start working in this world, or even looking at the world, all your prejudices, all your negativities, all likes and dislikes will manifest again. So it is better to roll up your sleeves and get into the world to find out where the problem is in you and recognize them and overcome them. So that is going to be the teaching in this chapter 5. We will see when we come the next time. Okay. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayaha, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkhabhat Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.